Okay, magandang araw sa inyong lahat at mabuhay. Welcome to the BINALOT Talks, ang ating weekly talks na hosted ng Archaeological Studies Program. Ako po si Ana Pineda and kasama ko po sa pag-tech dito at sa pag-moderate ay si Ara Espigar na ang username ay Ara-1. Alright. Para sa mga baguhan dito, ang BINALOT Talks ay isang weekly talks na hino-host ng Archaeological Studies Program tuwing Wednesday kahit na hindi pa ito online. Pero simula ng pandemic ay nag-move na kami online. Ginagawa na namin ito. Paiba-iba ang oras, depende sa speaker, pero mas madalas na ginaganap ito tuwing 1:00 ng hapon. Okay, kung gusto ninyong makinig at makita kung ano pa ang mga iba naming mga talks, makikita niyo po ang aming YouTube page. I-search niyo lang po ang Archaeological Studies Program. Okay, bago ko po i-introduce ang aming speaker sa ngayon, may mga ibang mga announcement yata. Si Dr. Paz ay may announcement.
Thank you, Ana. Announcement lang, from the mail, dumating yung latest antiquity journal. And what's interesting about it, of course, it's always chock full of interesting article, but it talks about Paleolithic, Neolithic transition in China. There's an article on emblems and spaces of power in Spain, now in the Bronze Age. Object space, a manifesto for investigating the impacts of object flows on past society. So sounds very theoretical. What's very appropriate, I suppose, is an article on COVID waste and social media as method, an archaeology of personal protective equipment and its contribution to policy. And then an entire special section on Ethiopian archaeology. So this will end up in the ASP library. No? So just so you know, it's accessible. Salamat, Ana.
Maraming salamat din for survey. At ilan pa pong mga announcement. Sa mga CAPI members ay na ang kapisanan ng mga archaeologists ng Pilipinas, meron pong tayong kapihan nagaganapin ngayong Sabado. Kung maaari niyo pong makita, may mga in-email na po yata sa inyong lahat ng mga miyembro ng CAPI ang mga impormasyon. Alright? Sige. Magsisimula na po tayo. Siguro marami sa atin ay nakakakilala na sa speaker ngayon, pero bibigyan ko lang ng kokonting impormasyon. Si Ramon Guillermo ay profesor sa Center for International Studies sa UP Diliman. May akda siya ng ilang aklat, kabilang ang nobelang Ang Makina ni Mang Turing na makikita sa UP Press at pinublish noong 2013. Isa rin siya sa mga author na kasama ni Michael Paluga, Maricor Soriano at Vernon Totanes ng libro na ang title ay Tatlong Baybaying Studies na pinublish sa UP Press noong 2017. Kasalukuyan siyang consultant ng Mangyan Heritage Center, MHC, sa proyekto ng dokumentasyon at analysis ng Surat Mangyan at ito ang kanyang ibabahagi ngayon. So, kung maaari, si Sir Bomen.
Yeah, salamat sa introduction. Salamat din sa pag-imbita para sa talk ngayong hapon. No? So, ang tatalakayin ko ay yung problema ng ambahan. Napakahirap ang problema ng ambahan kung tayo ay may konting pamilyariedad. So, ipapaliwanag ko yung mga complications ng pagbabasa ng ambahan. Kaugnay din ng Surat Mangyan o yung writing system ng mga partikular ng mga Hanunoo sa Mangyan na talagang malalimang pinag-aralan ni Antoon Postma. Yung papakita ko ay isang tool o magde-demonstrate ng isang tool na makakatulong sa palagay ko sa ating pagbabasa ng ganitong klaseng mga teksto. isang automated tool. Hindi nito hinahangad na palitan ang mga tao na may kakayahang magbasa. Ito ay sa palagay ko makakatulong para sa mga gustong magsanay sa pagbabasa ng ambahan. So it's like well, there's a lot of software to learn languages around, di ba? So it's something like that, pero it's a bit more let's say involved in a certain way with the text. So ito muna, mag-share screen ako para ipakita sa inyo yung mga detalye o yung mga usapin na tatalakayin natin. Ayan, so ito ay galing sa sa Mangyan, Surat Mangyan manual na galing sa Mangyan Heritage Center. Sa ngayon ay may project kami na tignan kung ano yung para matatawag nating may script standardization project kami na ginagawa sa Mangyan Heritage Center ngayon, na medyo naiiba doon sa aking kasalukuyang project na ipapakita sa inyo. So makita nyo dito, ito ang nakasulat dito ay Antoon Postma. Antoon Postma. Makita nyo na medyo iba ang Surat Mangyan sa baybayin. May ilang mga pagkakahawig. Gayunpaman ay maraming iba't ibang anyo at hugis ang mga Indic-derived scripts sa Pilipinas, at hindi lang sa Pilipinas kundi maging sa Timog Silangang Asya. Maihambing natin yung mga scripts sa Sulawesi, partikular sa Indonesia, sa ating mga writing system sa Pilipinas. Ito ay mga Indian derived scripts. Ngayon, may pansin kayo dito ay merong special na simbolo dito na din-discuss sa ibaba. Hindi ito yung ating gagamitin ngayon. Ang tawag dyan ni Postma ay pamudpod, so-called vowel killer. Kaya dito ay makita mo ay kung babasahin itong mga letters sa baba, ma-nga-ya-na. Pero dahil dito sa pamudpod na yan, nagiging mangyan na lang. So yung traditional na katulad nito, traditional na mga nakasulat sa kawayan na mga ambahan ay hindi gumagamit ng ganyan, ng ganyang vowel killer. Siguro ang dahilan ng pag-imbento o pagdagdag ni Postma ng vowel killer ay para magamit sa modernong komunikasyon, sa ating pang-araw-araw na komunikasyon ang Surat Mangyan. Gayunpaman sa traditional na ambahan, sa pagsulat nila sa kawayan ng kanilang script ay walang ganyan, at parang integrated mismo doon sa lohika ng ambahan at ng script na ito ang hindi paggamit ng pamudpod o yung vowel killer. So ipaliwanag ko lang, I'll just go over some traits of this writing system. Ayan, so eto sa taas, ba, ha, ayan, ba, ha, ayan yung pagkakasulat ng ambahan sa Surat Mangyan. Dahil wala siyang tinatawag na virama sa Indian or sa Sanskrit o kaya vowel killer, kailangan natin kailangan idagdag ng mga Mangyan na nagbabasa nito yung mga consonants. So they don't have independent consonants, so you can't write them down. So just looking at it, supposedly you can, through the context, maybe say that this sequence of characters, abaha, is ambahan. Ambahan. Kaya kailangan gagamitin mo ngayon yung interpretative skills mo, yung context clues, para maidagdag yung mga consonants na yan. At alam niyo, kung kayo ay interested sa iba pang pamamaraan ng pagsulat sa Pilipinas, katulad ng baybayin, ganyan din, yung traditional, yung doktrina Kristiyana, pinakaunang aklat sa Pilipinas, ay ganyan yung pamamaraan ng pagkakasulat. Ayan, so may mga nagsasabi tuloy na napakahirap naman yan basahin. Ganito man, mahirap nga, pero may mga pamamaraan din para ito ay magawa. Ngayon, sabihin ko lang yung mga complications para malinaw tayo doon sa ano yung ating hurdles na kailangang lampasan. Well, the trait of this writing system is that the trait of the ambahan is that it's heptasyllabic, no? It has 7 syllables, ano? Ayan, ano? So, uh, um, yun nga, pumanaw kahapon, nung isang araw, si Bienvenido Lumbera, no? At yung kanyang aklat na Tagalog poetry, ano, na tumatalakay sa kasaysayan ng evolusyon ng Tagalog poetry, ay pinakita niya roon na yung unang mga tula, yung talagang pinaka sinasabing katutubo, ano, hindi yung kay Balagtas, ano, na dodecasyllabic 12 syllable lines, ano, poetry. Yeah, that's already a adaptation, no, from a European model. Yung talagang sinaunang pamamaraan ng pagtula, ano, ng mga Pilipino ay 7 syllable, no, heptasyllabic. So that really conforms well with this ambahan trait, ano. Ngayon, ang isa pang katangian, ano, ng ambahan ay special yung kanyang vocabulary, no, na mababanggit natin mamaya, ano, special vocabulary. It has an elevated speech register, no? So it's not like daily speech. Yun nga ang isang frustration ni Postma nung pinag-aaralan niya yung ambahan. Naku, ay yung pananalita ng mga mangyan ay iba dun sa kanilang pagsusulat, ano? Well, you might say that about Tagalog poetry, you know, which has a sometimes rather different, ano, vocabulary compared to regular speech, ano. So halimbawa rito, no, ay yung amang na father in common speech ay bansay, ano, sa ambahan. Inang, ano, sa common speech ay suyong, ano. Danum, ano, water, ano, which you know, no, ay kaghan, ano, quite different, ano. Balay, labag, ano. Tapos niyog, buanay, ano. Tapos bagaw, to talk, yung in everyday speech, no, ay duyan, no. So don't mistake that for duyan, na nagduduyan ng bata. Ito ay magduyan ay magsalita, ano, magsabi, ano. So iba yung vocabulary. Buti na lang ay mayroong ginawang para sa proyektong ito, napakalaga nito, ano, at napakalaking kumbaga kung hindi ginawa ni Postma ito, hindi ko magagawa itong de-demonstrate ko, no. Yung kanyang diksyonaryo ng bokabularyo ng ambahan, ano. Kaya lang ay inana yata yung ilang bahagi. Yung unang bahagi at yung huling bahagi ay inana yata, ano. So hindi ko nakuha na yung mga ibang letters, no. From T downward, from something like T downwards, and then from K, before K, letter K. So ang ginamit ko na lamang ay itong libro na to, ano, para mabuo yung vocabulary ko. Ito, ano, sorry, naka-blur siya. Anyway, ito yung Mangyan Treasures. Yan, Mangyan Treasures, ano? This is a book by Postma, di ba? Yung kanyang classic na compilation ng mga ambahan. So, tinignan ko yung kanyang vocabulary, tapos through context ay tinry ko magkaroon ng definitions, ano? So, para makumpleto lang, ano? Although maraming hindi ko pa alam kung ano talaga ang ibig sabihin. So, kaya lang hindi pwede mag-field work ngayon, no? It's a big problem, ano? So, yun ang isa, no? Iba yung lingwahe ng iba yung mga salita na ginagamit sa ambahan, ano? Yung isa pa ay isang complication, makita niyo dito, gumagamit siya ng maraming contractions. Pinapaikli yung mga salita, no? At meron siya extensions, pinapahaba yung salita. Ito ay may kinalaman doon sa problema ng kanyang rigid 7-syllable line, ano? So halimbawa may sasabihin na isang linya, tapos ay kulang tayo ng isang syllable, no? Dapat nirwas lang, no? Biglang niruwas, ano? Okay, sorry. Manok lang pala, ano? Kulang. So manukan ang sasabihin natin. Kapag sumosobra naman, edi paikliin yung salita, ano? Ayan, so yung dayuan ay gagawing daywan, ano? So talagang yun isa pa, no? That's really difficult to deal with if you're trying to read ambahan, no? At dahil pa rito, ang isa pang lumalabas na hindi binanggit ito ni Postma, but I noticed is that it uses a lot of fillers, ano? In the, halimbawa, kulang pa tayo ng isang syllable talaga, wala tayong magawang paraan. Maglalagay ng filler, ano? Na parang hindi naman talaga dumadagdag doon sa kahulugan ng linya, pero parang nagiging bahagi na maintain tuloy yung 7-syllable line, ano. Ayan, ano. So ayan yung mga ilang katangian, no, nito, ano. Ngayon, punta tayo doon sa katangian noong writing system, ano. Ayan. So as we said, there's no vowel filler. Yung traditional ambahan, ano? I've not seen ambahan written with pamudpod. Maybe I should research more, no? Pero the traditional is they don't use that, no? Isa pang problema sa pagbabasa nito ay yung e at saka i at saka yung o at saka u, they're neutralized. They're as you know, no? There's just one you can't really, it's not indicated or marked which one it is, ano, in the writing system. Isa pa, there's no spaces between words. Ang swerte lang, ang sobrang swerte, no, if you've read yung ano to, 3 by Bayan Studies namin ni Michael, ay meron siyang double danda punctuation. Ano? So ang double danda punctuation has certain rules, ano, in text segmentation. Ang isang importante na at least sa Mangyan system, yung double danda ay lagi lumilitaw after the 7th syllable. So it's very repetitive, no? No? So it just repeats like that, no? Para lang hindi malito ang mata, siguro, no? Ito na yung 7th syllable, that's where the danda should be. It's a double danda because there are 2 lines, ano? Yung nasa baba, makita nyo dyan, may mga, yung dalawang vertical or slanted vertical lines. Those are the double danda, that's a double danda punctuation. Danda in Sanskrit means a stick, no? And it's also that's also the traditional or the classical punctuation of the Sanskrit writing system. So yung isang rule sa danda is don't break words, no? Don't put a danda in the middle of a word. That's so important, no? That's so important. It's so fundamental, no? Na it's the only way that we can figure out where words start and end, no? In between pagka meron ng mga 7 syllable, ano. Ngayon, dahil pa sa isang katangian ng ambahan, yung abahan, nakita niyo diyan, no? Kailangan dagdagan ng mga consonant, no? Ang daming homographs, ang daming mga nakasulat, no? Na pwedeng basahin sa iba't ibang paraan, no? Kaya nga ito, parang nakakabaliw ito, no? Like let's say these Surat Mangyan characters, no, which you see here, no? That's that's bula, no? Sorry. That's bula, no? That's not exactly mali yung pagkaka-type, ano? That's bulu. That's supposedly bulu, no? Okay. I forgot how to use this font ni ano. Anyway, that's wrong. Sorry. That's bula, ano? That's not bulu. Sorry. I forgot how to type this using this font that ito na nakuha natin, no? Galing kay Paul Morrow itong font na to. Ayan, so this is a problem, no? No, that's not a problem. I'm just saying that's bulu. The problem is ang daming pwedeng paraan ng basahin yan, no? Bulu, bulo, bolu, bolo, ano? Yeah, because nandoon yung ano, kanyang let's say neutralize nga yung o at saka u. At the same time, if you think of the consonants, problema na naman yun, no? So in the actual ambahan vocabulary, no, provided by Postma, there are 4 candidates, no? Bulod, mountains; bulong, something to do with sacrifice, no? Bulos, current of a river; bunglo, to make a certain sign to be recognized afterwards, makipagkaibigan. So ito ay complicated, no? If you just have two syllables like that, 2 characters, that can be read in several ways, no? At lalo pang mahirap, dahil hindi mo alam kung nasa gitna yan ng 7 syllable segment, is that a real word? Baka it might be connected to the characters preceding, it might be connected to the characters which come after it, di ba? So it's really mind-boggling how to read this script, no, without your own context, without living this script, without living this kind of poetry. Unfortunately, tayo ay mga outsiders, so mahirap talaga isabuhay yan, no? Madanas ang pagbabasa, malalim, na pagkaunawa sa sistema na ito para maghinawa kang makipagbasa. Gayunpaman, ayon nga sa mga observers, ay talagang mahusay magbasa. ang mga Mangyan at yung iba pang mga gumagamit na ganitong klaseng script, no, sa Pilipinas man o kaya sa Sulawesi, ano, ay yung ethnographic information is that people are able to read it quite well, ano. Siyempre because they exist within that particular context, ano. So tayo ngayon ay titingin sa isang halimbawa, no. Ayan, so kung nagpaliwanag ko na ng konti itong ating challenges, ano, let's go to a challenge, ano. So ito ay galing muli, ano, doon sa libro ni Postma, no. Transcription ito ni Postma ng isang ambahan, ano. Actually just a part of an ambahan, no. Kasi I can't deal with the whole thing, ano, medyo mahaba, ano. By the way, no, may mga maikling ambahan na parang haiku, ang haba, pero may mga iba na napakahaba talaga, ano. So hindi natin masasabi na ang ambahan ay isang short poetic form. And it's not really true. It can be quite long, ano. Ganyan, ano. So ito yung ating tingnan muna, ano. Ito yung ite-test natin after this and later on, ano. So ito, ano, kapag binasa natin yan, ito ay Makkunkuno tawu, ano? Makkunkuno tawu. Yan, para sa isang Mangyan, maintindihan talaga niya yan kaagad-agad, no? Tao pa lang tayo, ano? Tao yan, no? Sabihin natin. Tao, baka ang tao, ano? Sabihin natin. Makkunkuno, ano? So sa kanila ito ay magsalita o nagsabi, ano? So nagsabi, nagsalita yung tao. So that wasn't really a big challenge, you know. So kaklaro ko itong isa. Yan, so yung kanyang transcription, this is what we might call a syllabic transcription of this, no? Makkunkuno tawu, ano? Yung kanyang interpretation ay pwedeng ganito, ano? Magkunkuno, tapos dito meron tayong slash. That means that's another word. Okay ba? Nababasa nyo ba? O maliit masyado?
Okay.
Yan, okay. So ito ay so kita nyo dito yung processing niya, no? Ito yung raw form, ano? Raw form ng transcription from the script, no? Makkunkuno tawu. So we will now try to flesh it out. So ayon sa pagkaunawa natin, dapat may G dito, mag, tapos may N dito, kun, tapos kuno tawu. So sabi ng tao, nagsasalita ang tao. Ayan, no? Tapos kapag tinignan natin yung mismong form na pinopronounce, ano? Ito yung magkunkuno tawu, ano? So tao. So that means that the U and the O here are distinguished, ano? Yeah, ano? So ngayon naman, what does it mean, ano? Says the man, ano? Etc., ano? So sabi ng tao, ano? Ito yung translation ni Postma, ano? By the way, based on this research that I've been doing, you know, I think lots of Postma's translations or poetic translations are rather free, you know. So meron sigurong kinalaman ito sa poetic flavor or poetic style na nais maabot ni Postma. Ayan. So ganyan ang process, no, ng line by line, no, ng posibleng pagbabasa ng ambahan. Makita niyo yung napaka-problematic quality nito, no? So yung pagdagdag pa lamang ng consonants, tapos yung pag-break up ng words, no? Actually determine each other. No? How to break the addition of consonants means that you already know how the words are broken up, no? In the end. Ayan, no? So pwede kong ipakita yung buong transcription, ano? Dito. Ayan, so ito yung buong transcription nito, at least into a syllabic form that we can easily read, ano? Ngayon, even if we could read that simple those in our own writing system, in the writing system na kinuha natin sa mga ano dumating 500 years ago sa Pilipinas, no? Ay kahit nababasa natin yan, nakita natin yung mga syllables, parang hirap pa rin basahin, no? Kaka u ka ba si ano uma ti ano. So obviously ang daming challenges, no, in terms of breaking them up into words and adding consonants, ano. So yan yung ating problema na itong tool na gagamitin natin will help us out, no. So isa-isayin natin ng konti. I mean ilang ano oras na. Sige. May mga ilan tayong mako-cover dito na mga lines, ano. Okay? So lipat muna ako ng aking screen share, no. So itong program na ito ay nakasulat sa Python, no. It was designed to read baybayin, ano, at least yung baybayin ng doktrina Kristiyana. Na-discuss ko na in a previous talk, ano. Na-demonstrate ko yan, ano. Ngayon, dahil pareho lang yung characteristic nila, it was just a matter of changing it a bit para maging ano siya, ambahan reader, no. But before that, no, ipakita ko lang sa inyo how it functions kapag baybayin, ano. Balik muna tayo dito, no. Ayan, no. So this is a graph of how yung run times ng program na yan, no. Yung pinakita kong program kanina sa Python na nakasulat, ito yung run times niya for reading, trying to interpret baybayin texts, ano. Because kung tingnan nyo dito sa itong nasa ibaba, yung x-axis, that's the number of syllables in a baybayin text segment, no. So tapos itong nasa y-axis, that's the number of seconds that it needs to process to produce a interpretation or a result, ano, of that text segment, no. So ang pagkakaiba ng baybayin kasi dito sa ambahan is variable length siya, no. Depende sa gusto mong sabihin, pwedeng maikli, pwedeng mahaba, ano, ang text segment. Ibig sabihin yung danda sa baybayin, no, ay pwedeng after 12 characters, after 15 characters, no, after 21 characters, no, after 5 characters, no. So it's a variable length segmentation system yung nasa baybayin. Whereas, which makes our life simpler, yung baybayin ay isang fixed length segmentation system. Ngayon, ang pinapakita ng graph na ito is that it takes a much longer time to process that longer and longer segments, ano. So halimbawa, halos stable, no, 0.25 seconds ang kailangan niya to process segments of 1 to halos 10, ano. Ayan, 1 to 10. So kapag nagpasok ka ng 10 syllable ang baybayin segment into the program, it can find a reading within 0.25 seconds. That's just the average, you know. Whereas kapag mabot tayo sa 29 segments, halimbawa, the longest that we have, no? For example, pagka ganyan 29 or a bit, let's say 27, magiging ano na yan, 1,000 seconds or 16 minutes, ano. So ang laki ng difference, ano. Ang laki ng difference ng waiting time. Ibig sabihin the processing the burden of the processing takes a much longer time. It's much more difficult for the algorithm to find a possible reading, no? The longer and longer the segments go. So nakita nyo na doon sa discuss ko sa dating libro, yung Free Baybayin Studies. That's why nakita nyo doon yung average segment length ng doktrina Kristiyana was 7, ano. That means it's here. That means it's still within halos minimum overhead running time of the program. Mabilis yung kanyang pag-process noong ganong klase. That's why intuitively, amazingly, yung mga nagsusulat ng mga baybayin, at least ng baybayin doktrina Kristiyana, yung average length is 7, ano. So they were still maintaining that kind of length, ano, parang on the average, that's comfortable for human beings to process, ano. If it's longer, then it takes a longer time for human beings and computers to process, ano. So okay, so yun yung ating Yun yung ating ano dyan. Let's go to our program itself. Ano? So, ito, no? Ito yung ambahan 250. Ano? Nandito yung nakita yung Makkunkuno titaw. Ano? So, I'm going to run this and let's see what it spits out. No? Ganyan. By the way, itong Jupyter is like it's an interface, ano, to develop programs in Python that you can see it. Parang you can see how it operates, no? Parang nakalabas yung mga bituka ng program mismo. So it's not very attractive, ano? It's not a very attractive looking program. The important thing is it works, ano? Yun, nakalabas kasi lahat ng kanyang mga bituka, ano? So pasensya na kayo, no? Ganyan lang talaga yan, ano? So I'm gonna run it. Okay. Bago natin puntahan yung output, no? I'll explain how the program works first. No? Ganito yan. So nandito nakalagay yung syllable segments, right? So pagka tinatanggal ko itong hash sa harapan nila, that means that's the one that we're working on. So I remove that hash at the beginning of this line. So that means it's working on this particular segment. Itong program na to, it can take in segments of any length, ano? Pero dahil nga ang ambahan is just 7, then yan, it will just take in 7. Ayan. Now, this is the most important thing about this program. It has a ambahan dictionary. Ano? Yung ginawa ni Postma, and including my additions, ay nandito. Ayan. So it has a whole ambahan vocabulary dictionary. Yan ang problema nga dito. This is still fully under wraps. Ano? Itong dictionary ito, it's not yet published. There's still copyright issues involved. Ano? At saka the community itself, most importantly, has not yet given any permission to release it. No? So yun nga, hindi natin ito ma-release as in to have everyone use it. No? Yun nga ang isang problema pa sa ngayon. Ngayon yung format ng data na ito, papakita ko lang how it's formatted, the dictionary. You know? It's formatted in this way. Ano? For example, yung first here, this aba, that is the syllabicated form. Ano? Tapos ang susunod ay yung form na medyo buo. Ito na lang, ababa. Ano? Ayan, ababa. That's syllabicated. Ang kanyang dictionary form ay ambaba. Ano? Na ibig sabihin ay kaambaba o kahalubilo. Ano? Ganyan, no? So you not only get a possible reading in terms of the syllable clusters, but you also get the definition, no? In English or Filipino translation. No? Ngayon, kung may mga numbers, ibig sabihin yan, this raw syllable sequence is a homograph. That means there are various interpretations. Ano? So ada can be adan, no? Yan nga, sabi nga ni Postma, ayan, pumapasok ng Kristyanismo dito sa sa vocabulary nila, pati sa ambahan, adan, as in Adam, ano? Ayan, so tapos agdan, ano, which is stairs, ano? Aldaw is araw, ano? So that's I think I can just scroll here. Stairs. So 1, 2, or bukas pala. Bukas, ano? Yan, bukas. Aldaw, ano? Bukas. Bukas. That's it, no? So this is how it is, no? This is how the dictionary is formatted, ano? So yung mga homographs may number. So iharapin mo ito yung mga posibleng pagbasa, tapos tignan mo yung corresponding forms, ano? And meanings, ano? Yan. Okay, so next, ang ginagawa ng program ay hinahanap niya doon sa ating pinasok na raw syllable sequence ang lahat ng mga nag-fit in ng mga salita. So that's, itong pinakita niya, there are 12 words in the dictionary. So it consults the dictionary and looks at the syllable sequence. Sabi niya, what words can we see in that syllable sequence? In 7 syllable sequence. So hanapin niya lahat nun, and it found 12 words from the dictionary in that sequence. Ano? Ay yung dictionary pala, it has around 2,500 entries. Ano? So ayan, so makita niyo yung flow, ano? Ayan. Tapos, ngayon, this particular, ito ay parang error trap ito, ano? At dito pinapakita niya that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 na lahat ng mga slots ay may kumbaga given yung mga nahanap na salita sa taas, all the slots are accounted for. No, there is no vacant slot. Now, if there is a vacant position in that 7-syllable sequence, ang sasabihin niya, dictionary insufficient. Ibig sabihin, our dictionary could not find in all the words that could fill up that syllable sequence. So, kung nag-iisip kayo, may mga old school dyan, tulad ni Vic ay gumagawa dati ng crossword puzzle. So now you can see this is how it's seemingly like a crossword puzzle. Ano? Ngayon, you can guess already what the next part of the program is. Ano? Ayan, the next part of the program, what does is kinukuha niya ang lahat ng mga word forms and tries to fit them into the 7-syllable sequence. It tries to para siyang crossword puzzle. So ito fits there and then this one fits there. How would it fit? Ganyan, sabihin niya. So it tries to look for all possible fits. All possible fits ng kanyang found vocabulary in relation to the given raw syllable sequence and the 7-syllable boundary length. Ayan. So I looked for every possible so dito na lalabas na yung possible readings. Ayan. So number of word forms found 12. Na ngayon may setting dito sa program, number of maximum words per line 4. Kasi ang ambahan might have something like 2 to 6 words in that span, 7 syllables. But you can control this, you can adjust it. Depende sa iyong hinahanap. At this, yung setting ko ngayon ay 4. Meron ding iteration setting. This tells us how many times the program will look for solutions. It can be longer if there are solutions that may have not been found. Yan, time to execute was 8 seconds. So tip, check solution with the least number of words first. So let's look at the various readings. Reading 1, 2, 3 readings, possible readings. So sabi ng tip, na ako rin nagsulat, check solution with the least number of words first. Okay, so let's try this one. 3. Makkunkuno ti tao. So magkunkuno, saying, speaking, ti ang tao. So this allows us to by looking at the possible readings to try to arrive at what is probably a rational reading, or even a grammatical reading. Ayan, so ito ay yung iba makita nyo, makukuno. Makuku pala ito. Dahil there's a word in the dictionary, makumkum, with many flowers, etc. So you can actually look at the various possible readings, and then dito na ngayon pumapasok ang sinasabi natin human intervention. Yeah, that's why yun nga, kailangan mo na ngayong tingnan ano ba yung pinaka pumapasok dun sa kabuuang context ng ambahan. If you're reading the whole thing. The main thing is hindi sobrang dami yung mga possible readings. At least in this case, 3 lang. Dahil yung 7-syllable segment represents a strong restriction to the proliferation of possible readings. Kaya nga kanina nakita natin yung parang exponential increase of time required to process longer and longer baybayin sequences. So, okay, so yan yung first line, Ayan, so sabi ng tao. So let's look at what it says, what the next line says, Ayan, so ang ating pagkabasa noong raw sequence ay nakakaukabasi, What the hell, Ano kaya sabihin itong nakakaubasi, So we run it again. Yan. Meron tayong 4 readings ngayon. 4 readings. Medyo mahaba, medyo marami ngayon, no? Time to execute, is 4.87 seconds. Tip, check solution with least number of words first. Okay, let's follow our tip, no? 1, 2, 3, ano? The isa may 4, ito may 2, ano? So, ibig sabihin yan, let's try the 2, ano? Ito, nakakabasi, no? Nakakaon, nakakain, kabatsi, a kind of beans, sometimes causing dizziness, ano? So, nakakain ng isang kind of bean that causes dizziness, ano? Yan, so let's go with that reading. Alam ko may mga iba pang mga readings, no? But we can go with that reading. Why don't we go for that reading so that dahil kulang oras natin, no? Then, so okay, you said, sabi ng tao, nakakain, ano, ng isang uri ng bean, akabatsi, ano, na nakakahilo, ano. So, let's process the next one, ano. Okay, dito sa line 3, there's only one solution. There's only one solution, no? Which it was able to find in 3.5 seconds, at least it's run na to. It can be very variable. So ito ay, kitang-kita nyo yung una, malinaw, ako, ano? Ako. So it breaks it down into 4 words, ano? So dito ay ako. Itong maaw kasi, it has possible 3 readings. Let's skip that first, ano? Yung u is, it can be read as either wag, hindi, or negation, or even, ano? Tapos yung tiya, which is ano important, timan, to know, ano? To know, ano? So, ang sinasabi dito, yung maaw, it's like pala, ano? Ako pala hindi alam. Iba yung kanyang structure. So, sabi ng tao, nakakain ako ng itong beans na to nakakahilo. Ako pala hindi ko alam. Hindi ko alam na ganun yun, ano? Yung kanyang sinasabi, ano? So, next. Siguro okay, what's the next one? So this next one has 3 possible readings. Let's go with our tip, ano? The shortest, the fewest number of words, yung pinakakonti. Yan. So, the fewest is 3 words, ano? So, ginawian. Ano? So, ang problema sa ano? This is a big problem. Meron siyang 5 interpretations. Ano? It can be you, ano? Kung ka, ano? Pwede siyang come, ano? Where did you come from? Tapos pwede siyang can, number 3, nang, sa, ano? 4, my, mine, aking, ano? So, let's go for example, kang, ano? Kang maaw ginawian, ano? So, sabihin, akin palang nakuha. So, akin palang kinuha itong ginawian. So, kung babalikan natin, sabi ng tao, nakakain ako ng nakakahilo na beans, ano? Hindi ko pala alam. Akin palang nakuha, ano? So, that's the last line we're going to look at, ano? Baka boring na sa inyo itong process na ito, ano? Let's go to the next, ano? Ayan, okay. Ayan. Okay, so there are 2 readings, ano? And the rule is start with the reading with the fewest number of words. Makabuyong sa dula, no? Makabuyong, causing dizziness. Sangdulan is pwedeng sangdol, pero kinailangan dinagdagan ng, as you heard, no? An, para umabot sa 7 syllables. Kaya nakakahilo sa ulo. Ano? Nakakahilo sa ulo. Ano? At syempre, baka gusto niyo malaman kung ano yung nangyari, ano? Siguro para malaman natin kung ano nangyari sa kanya, ano? So, nakakahilo sa ulo yung kinain kong beans, ano? Ganyan, no? Tapos, dalawa na rin lang naman, ano? So, baka kaya natin ma-interpret yung buo, ano? Yan. So, shortest reading, two words, no? Bau nakahimama. So, bago nakahimanman. Ito, no? Bago ko nalaman. Ano? So, bago ko nalaman, nahihilo na ako. Ay, sorry. Nahihilo na ako. Sorry, mali. Nahihilo na ako. Tapos, bago ko nalaman, bago ko namalayan, last line, okay, dito komplikado, 4 readings, ano? That was the least number of words. Ito, number 2. That's the least number of words. Number 2 with 3 words, ano? Kaayu, yi, bilugan. So, bago ko nalaman, bago ko namalayan, karaayon, death. I, ang, ay, sa, bilugan, body. Bago ko namalayan, patay na ang katawan. Ano? Bago ko namalayan, patay na ang katawan. So nakita niyo yung kanyang ano, it's actually an ambahan from the other side, ano? From the spirit world, ano? Na sinasabi ng tao, ayan, nakakain ako nung beans na nakahilo, nahihilo na akong ganun, ano? Hindi ko alam na ganun pala yung nakuha ko, ano? Tapos bago ko namalayan, patay na yung aking katawan. Ganun ganun yung tula na yan, no? So, let's look at Postma's translation. Yan, pwede nating reveal, ano? Ay, balong dumilim. Ayan, no? So, ano yung salin ni Postman ito, ano? Says the man when in the woods, poisoned after eating beans. Really, I was not aware that what I was eating there made me dizzy in the head. When I noticed it at last, ano? Or bago ko namalayan, ano? Parang may iba ron, ano? Too late. No? Although yung too late, dagdag na yung Postman, my body was dead. Ano? So yung process, ano, from getting here to there, ano, using conventional means is very difficult. It is very difficult, no? Baka hindi imposible, ano? Pero napaka-problematiko niyan kung ikaw ay hindi malayo dun sa komunidad, ano, sa pagkakataon na yon, ano, wala kang makonsulta ng mga nagbabasa talaga ng ambahan, ano, na mga mangyan na makapagpapaliwanag sa iyo noong ibig sabihin noon, ano. Ngayon, yung ating dinemonstrate ay naipakita natin na sa pamamagitan ng ganitong paraan ay pwede tayong makatawid, ano, mula dito sa una, actually, ito yung una. Ito yung Surat Mangyan, no? So, yung Surat Mangyan, alam natin yung characteristics niyan. Ita-transcribe natin patungo sa sa Latin alphabet, no? Unfortunately, the computer, at least Python can't read this our format. Our computer can't read directly Surat Mangyan, ano? Kailangan pang i-transcribe, no, from Surat Mangyan to Slavic characters. I can't even get this program to use Hanunoo script, ano. I'm figuring it out, no, how it can use yung para kumbaga nag-spit out to siya ng Hanunoo Mangyan Surat Mangyan script, pero I have to figure it out. So so ngayon ay kailangan natin gumawa ng raw transcript, no, of syllables per segment. Tapos what it does is it helps us figure out the second part, no? Yung pagdagdag ng consonants, pag-break up ng words, it helps us decide. Ano, it just helps us. It doesn't really do the job for us completely. Pero sa palagay ko ay pinapadali niya ng husto ang paraan ng paglipat mula sa unang column na ito patungo sa column halimbawa na isasalin na sa ibang lingwahe. So merong so yun lang naman yung yun lang naman yata yung aking ma-share sa ngayon. Ito yung meron pang ibang mga samples na pwedeng ma-run. Actually, it would be nice to get ambahan from the wild na hindi pa na-transcribe ni Postma na may pasok dito. So you can try to read this ambahan from the wild. Ito may isa pa si manok, si kurkuro, kawo, kawo, una, patago, etc. Kung hindi makatago yung manok, yung kurkuro bird, yung kanilang parang mystical bird, ayan. So this also, so we can continue testing, improving yung program, improving yung kanyang dictionary definitions. Eventually, I think it can really make more precise readings, more comfortable readings for non-Mangyan to understand and interpret ambahan. Yan. Kung di nyo nalalaman, sa main library ay merong I think mga 12 very long bamboo ambahan manuscripts sa main lib. Nandun nakalagay yan doon sa sa rare book section tawag dito mahaba yan yung mga kawayan na yan, mga sabihin natin mga 3 feet long each and they're filled with Surat Mangyan. No one in the library knows what it's about, Ganon. Nandun na yan since the 1920s sa library, sa main lib. They've been keeping it, gumawa ko ng transcription, some years ago. Pero nasunog nga sa faculty-centered transcription. Kaya hindi ko na rin mabalikan yun, But that could be a study, Someone could make a thesis about it actually. Yung the bamboo manuscripts, ambahan bamboo manuscripts of the UP main library. Yeah. So at least yun yung aking i-discuss ngayon.
Okay. Maraming salamat Sir Bomen, and mukhang marami ring mga katanungan. Para rin sa mga paalala sa mga tao, sa mga magtatanong, maaari ninyong isulat dito sa chat ang inyong mga katanungan o di kaya magpintin ninyo ang reactions button sa baba at ang raise hands at tatawagin namin kayo. At pwede rin kayo, kung nahihiya kayo, maaari nyo rin akong i-PM at private message para pwede kong basahin ang inyong tanong. Si Luard na
Nandiyan si Luard.
Si Luard, sige pa.
Hello. Ayan. Maraming salamat, Bome. Napaka-interesante ng iyong present. Yung sa akin ang tanong ko lang, maaari bang i-extend yung application nitong approach na to sa ibang form ng literature? Halimbawa, kung hindi ambahan, pwede ba sa suyot, pwede ba sa urukay, o pang-ambahan lang siya?
Pwede. Basta pareho yung kanyang principles na susundan. Na wala siyang kung pareho yung problema na kinakarap natin. Kung wala siyang bawal killer, pa ba, wala siyang mga word breaks, mainam kung gumagamit din siya ng danda, yung punctuation na yun, yung parang punctuation na ginagamit na yun, yung double line, it can work with any of those kinds of scripts. In fact, it can even work with Sulawesi type Bugis writing systems. Ang problema lang ay kailangan natin ng dictionary. Yun ang problema. We need a big enough dictionary that can read, that can be used to read texts. So kung may mga Luard, kung may mga dictionary tayo ng mga ganong klaseng mga sulatin, edi kaya o wika, ay kaya natin gawin, i-adapt ito.
Yung dictionary ba, kailangan naka-encode na siya? Actually, I guess it will lead to my next question rin na kayo ba yung nag-encode ng buong dictionary na ito? Kung baka kayo na, meron na kayong kinuhang RA for it.
I know. Ayan, okay. So, yun nga ang problema, no? Okay. Tama yung tanong ni Luward. Ang magagamit ito for any similar kind of writing system. And I have to tell you, no, na itong writing system na to, yung principles niya, they're quite unique to Philippines and Sulawesi. Ano? No, hindi sila makita sa halimbawa sa Java, ano? Hindi sila makita sa Sumatra, ano? That's why yung theory is that, at least my own theory is that yung ating writing systems are more closely related with Sulawesi writing systems, ano? Bugis Makassar systems. So if you look at yung Philippine area, yung mga living scripts sa Philippine area, no, sa Mindoro, kaya sa Palawan, tingnan niyo yung mga dead scripts din, ano? Na pareho yung principle, ano? Tapos tingnan niyo yung mga taga Sulawesi. This can work, ano, with those scripts as long as we have the dictionary. Ngayon tanong, how to input the dictionary, ano? Matagal na ako nitong may dictionary ni Postma na ito ng ambahan vocabulary, ano? Kasi matagal ko nang binabalak sana gawin itong project na to. Kaya nasunog yung dami nasunog doon sa faculty center, ano? Nasunog din yung aking original copy ng dictionary na to, ano? So it was only recently that I was able to get a digital copy again, ano, from Mangyan Heritage Center, ano? Thank you, ano? Thank you, Emily, ano, dito. So ang tanong ay paano yan? So mano-mano talaga yan. Tama. Mano-mano ang pagpasok nito. At ang problema lang ay talagang, sabi ko nga kanina, kulang yung unang mga pahina ng diksyonaryo at kulang din yung huling mga pahina ng diksyonaryo. Kaya hindi kumpleto yung diksyonaryo. At the same time, it was never finished by Postma. The dictionary was never finished, ano? So there are many entries without definitions. Many entries without definitions. So sa kaso na yon, I had to look at context in the Postma's translations themselves, to figure out yung context meaning, but they could be wrong, no? So yun ang ilang as na Luward talaga, si Luward na nakakaalam ng bokabularyo na to at alam na rin yung kung paano ito ma-elicit, para maging mas reliable yung dictionary na ginagamit. Pero ito totoo yan, ay mano-manong pinasok 2,500 words into the machine.
Ang galing. May nag-comment rin ng si Dean, that is great. Kanina habang nagtotalk ka, that's called the big O notation po and applies to most algorithms. I guess magandang para sa mga interesado na mag-aral nito at ipagpatuloy ito sa ibang mga research. May katanungan din dito bago ko tawagin ang susunod na magtatanong mula kay Erwin Banyes. Posible po bang magkaroon din ng autocorrect o auto-learning ito kung saan ang napiling tamang interpretasyon, halimbawa mula sa community, ay eventually mas mabibigyan ng weight as proposed dun sa correct interpretation sa next run?
Yan. So,
for more thinking na tayo.
Mas matalino yan, yung ganyan, So AI, machine learning, yeah, it could be, kumbaga, pwede yung i-piggyback, dito, eventually, pwedeng i-piggyback ang ganung system na nakabatay sa ating mga informants, na talaga nagbabasa nito. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And ang useful lang dito sa useful lang dito sa ganitong parang very raw output ay it's good for learning it. It's good for learning because you see all the possibilities. And then if you're a scholar trying to immerse yourself into it, you're now able to ganun pala, pwede pala yung mga ganyang combination. But now I'm just trying to figure out ano yung mga pwedeng pinaka-rational na pwedeng sinasabi nito, So it's good for it's a learning tool also, for people who want to study this language, at least in the way that it is articulated in ambahan. Kaya kasi pero gagawin man mano-mano yan, looking for all the possible combinations. Impossible, no? Isipin nyo, can you think of it doing it manually? Na trying to do yung ganun. Parang mechanically, ang hirap, Although yung nga native readers, it's no problem for them, no problem. Pero for outsiders like myself and others, mahirap. So this just helps us, una, connect the dots, try to make it easier for us to enter this world. Yun lang naman. And but that's just entering the world. We have to be in the world later on. Yan, sinaluward yan, talagang malalim.
Ward, kasama ka talaga dito. May isa pang tanong rin dito, na siguro isa rin sa mga katanungan ko na kasi napansin namin na isang per line ang pag-run, may way ba na ma-execute yan ng isang run lang? Or,
yeah, it can be executed, multiple line execution. Pwede yun,
pero
this is just for
the best, gano'n.
Totoo yan. Kasi boring na naman na isa-isa tayo, pero pwedeng kapag meron tayong i-run na isang batch, pwede yan. Let's run them by, let's say, by tens. Okay, maganda. Ayun.
Sige, may katanungan ho si Sir Vic.
Hello, Bomen. Congratulations.
Ay, mute?
Ay, sir, na-mute po kayo?
Biglang na-mute. Miniyuto ako ni Ana. Well, alam mo naman, Bowen, I've been following your research and been a fan, especially because you are very clear in your methodology, yung philosophy mo of approaching understanding languages. That you are always approaching it very conscious that you're from outside looking in. B, yung all-time critic mo na, di ba? Yung critic mo sa Kudlit, yung critic mo doon sa Doktrina Kristiyana, which of course, sa footnote, we're not, I think, you don't have to answer this, no? Pero there's a chance that in Kudlit I may be developed also in the other baybayins, no? But the point there is, the idea of reading, difficulty of reading is always a problem of someone from outside the culture trying to understand, di ba? Pero ang dine-demonstrate mo sa lahat ng approaches mo, that is exactly only difficult for people who are from outside. Definitely from the inside speakers, they know the context. Para sa atin yan, di ba? All the languages for that matter. Yung comment ko dun sa, ang question ko, Bomen, na-establish mo na, okay, si Father Postma, si Antoon Postma, added those vowel killers, no? To make it more modern, perhaps, or to understand it easier for someone like him or for the new generation. But and then you mentioned that there are the older ambahans did not have it, no? So I assume nakita mo na yung mga older examples, no? And did you see it? Can you tell us anong collections na nakita mo where you found these older examples?
Well, tawag dito. Well, yung isa, let's go from step by step nga, no? Yung una nating tawag dito, yung una nating exposure dito ay syempre sa mga libro ni Postma. Even undergraduate years natin, Vic, pinagtitignan ko na yung mga yan, no? Ano ito nandun na may mga meron dong Surat Mangyan, original kumbaga writing by Postma. Although yun nga Postma has been working for a long time in this field alone, no? Alone. Kaya virtually alone, no? Therefore, sa aking further analysis of his book, for example, yung Mangyan Treasures, nandoon kung if you're really into, for example, philological accuracy, may mga errors yung mga transcription niya, this is already a given, even no matter how great a scholar you are, you will make mistakes, in transcription in Surat Mangyan. It's just that he was just working alone. There was no one who
To talk
could point these things out. Ikalawa, yung kanyang translations, also there are also variations, actually deviations sometimes from the actual text. I think there was an interest also on his part to make it more poetically acceptable for Western readership, Kasi very payak na payak talaga yung ambahan kung pagkakalatag niya, Ayun. So ayun.
Ang ganda naman talaga ng translations. If you read it, my God, it's very poetic in English. Now, I was thinking that maybe when you were in Germany, nakita mo, I'm sure you're aware, no? Yung collections ni this guy Shannonberg, no? Who went to Mindoro, and then I think he sold his collection in one of the museums in Germany, right?
Sorry, I was going there. Sorry, may ano lang, point lang. Okay, so you were asking me about the actual, the actual collections. Siguro yung pinakamalaking collection na nakita ko na was Postma's collection himself in Mansalay,
Nandun. But is it old? Was his collection old? I mean,
hindi dated, but it was quite a lot,
yes,
of material, and mga museum pieces, wonderful. Some of them very long strips, lengths of bamboo. Na I asked him kung na-transcribe na ibang mga napakahabang mga bamboo. Hindi pa raw na-transcribe yung mga ibang mahaba roon. And he also gave me a number of museum pieces that I was able to take home, Yun, very.
Teka lang, nasunog ba sa FCN?
Meron. May mga nasunog doon, including his letters in Surat Mangyan.
Sayang.
Ni Postma. Sayang talaga. Anyway, wag mo na ipalalim mga ganyan bagay. So these are basically all museum pieces. Na ngayon, kung sa usapin ng collections like you mentioned in Germany, I was not aware, and I did not see them.
And the other good big one, I'm sure, and I don't know, maybe the Mangyan Center people have worked on it and ethnographers, but sa Field Museum, because of two individuals who did field work in the turn of the 20th century, si Fletcher Gardner and of course Faye Cooper Cole. And then si Gardner was an epigrapher, so he was very, very interested, and so they collected in the accounts, and surely it's in Michigan, so maybe one day you can ask friends to at least make copies of them. I haven't seen them in digital format. Now, Paumen, did I hear you correctly? You mentioned earlier, baka naman marinig ko, you put a time depth for the introduction of the ambahan or the script to about 500 years ago. Is that? Did you say that?
No, I didn't say that.
I just heard you said the introduction of a script in the script around. So I just clarified that.
Napaka-debated.
Pati parang masyado naman late, di ba? For this kind of so yun, mabuti na ano lang yun. Then my last comment really is, and you know this, dahil of that very memorable, someone should really write of that fantastic symposium we had on the Kalatagan Pot, and of course the work you did there, and then the later publication you did with Maifel, and of course and again consistent with your approach, which you demonstrated here in your approach to the ambahan and the Mangyan script, is the it's really, you are very much a democrat. You open source. You create a algorithm that anyone can then use, and then choose among the options of how to read it or interpret it, which you did in the Kalatagan Pot script. And so the difference, and correct me if I'm mistaken, ang kaiba lang nung algorithm mo doon at yung algorithm mo dito, ay dito meron ka ng dictionary.
Yes.
So pero the approach and everything is the same, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. Same principles.
So it's just a dictionary, yun lang, wala ka lang dictionary dito sa Kalatagan.
Ang problema, kung di mo alam kung anong lingwahe ng iyong titingnan na
Isa pa.
inscription,
Oo.
patay ka doon. Kasi
Eh,
anong lingwahe ito?
Kasi nga,
Worthy of the dictionary.
and so kayo, tingin nyo Bisaya, and then sabi ni Bicol, sabi ni sa Tagalog, sabi sa Panggalatok. So, yung starting premise mo changes the trajectory of the entire research or interpretation, right? Yeah. So yeah, but wonderful work talaga, man. It's kudos to this.
Salamat.
Thank you.
Gusto ko lang iyan yung method na ginagamit dito na mag-elicit ng possible reading, no? Well, on the one hand, yung kalitagan part, marami nagsasabi na yan na parang hindi legit, ano. Pero yung paggamit niya, which I didn't mention this before, no? Yung paggamit niya ng danda punctuation, every seventh syllable, ano, exactly the same as ambahan, no. So it uses a danda which is a single danda. It is a double danda ang gamit sa 2 lines ang gamit sa ambahan. Pero sa kalatagan, it's a single line, vertical line that separates the text, no, per 7 syllables. Now that's something, no, that hardly been commented upon, no? And I think that's another reason why the kalatagan part
It cannot be a fake.
is legit, ano.
Yes.
Dahil ang hirap, hindi pinag-usapan talaga itong punctuation system ng writing system na ito, mga writing. Nobody talks about it. Now, if you know this punctuation system, how it works, and this is the basis of this program, then we see that it's the same thing that operates in the kalatagan part. That they knew this system even before people started writing about it today. Yun yung ganon. Ngayon itong algorithm na to, which I was thinking about dati pa, it's the same algorithm that's in my novel, yung Makina ni Mang Turing, ano.
Diba that's how you started?
No, it's the same. It operates in the same way. Kasi yung Makina ni Mang Turing, it tries to find the longest songka moves, ano. Yeah, let's say you have a particular songka disposition of the mga shells, ano. So sabihin nun, I look for the longest possible move. Ibig sabihin matalo yung kalaban, ano?
Yes.
Let's say maka 50 moves ka, talo na yung 50 shells, ano? So that's the same program that's embedded in that novel, ano? That tries to look for the longest songka move. That unang bira mo pa lang panalo ka na, kung nandoon naman yung mga solutions sa libro na yun, It's actually the same underlying motor. Kumaga kung may isang kotse, iba-iba yung mga motor. Iba-iba yung kotse pero pareho yung motor nila.
Yes.
It's the same motor that's running this thing.
Correct. And like I mentioned, unlike the other attempts to study, especially the dead scripts, no, wala kasi yung ganong consistency. So you rely now on the expertise of the individual who did the interpretation or the translation. In this case, everyone is in the same page. No, that is what you are providing, and I think that's why your approach is more is really superior than the others. It is not, of course, prescriptive. Yan ang problema. Yung mga iba ang gusto na nila, sabihin mo na lang sa amin kung yung, we just want to use your authority and just tell us and then we will believe you. But of course, we're not like that and you're not like that. So yun ang maganda doon. But do you still think that the Mangyan script, no, and the I asked you this before, no, the late Harold Conklin lectured once here in BINALOT talk, no, way back, and he was describing and he was saying that the Mangyan script and the Tagbanwa script are actually shows many signs of what the old Tagalog script could have been. So and that's why remember I asked you about your conclusion or your argument with Mayfeld in your article that the that the Kalatagan script is closer to the Visayan baybayin or script because it's close to the Agbanwa script. Am I remembering it correctly? Moment, that was the argument, right? Your
Daming speculation doon, Vic. Daming
Oo nga.
speculation.
And like I said, ako na, and that's why I always, yung medyo nakaano yung aking statement, kasi it is just an authority that I'm saying. Sinasabi ko lang, narinig ko lang yung sinabi ni Harold Conklin.
I think, yeah,
No?
if I were to say it, pero si Conklin, I think he's a great authority on this subject matter. Yeah, I would take him seriously.
Yeah, so pero I heard it, I didn't read it, So he was just saying it, parang ano lang yan, kaliga lang ng sinabi mo ba na 500 years ago. I could have misheard it, So, but it stuck to my mind. It stuck to my mind when I was reading your work. So that's all. So hindi malakas yung posisyon ko diyan.
Oo. Hindi ko alam.
Yung dictionary na yan, pwede po ba yung ma-modify? Pwede kang mag-add? Or ano ba yung recommendation ninyo na mag-add pa ng galing sa mga bagong mga researchers or interpretations na nanggagaling sa Mangyan Center? Or do you recommend na different way na? Kasi syempre living script itong ang Mangyan script. So yung words ay maaaring nag-change rin over time. So paano na-account yung ganong klaseng interpretation? Essentially, pag ipasok nyo na yun, I don't know, sa future pag-run nitong mga ng interpretations.
Totoo yan. Yung dictionary na ginawa ni Postma, I'm not exactly sure about the date of, maybe it was even 60s. But it's the most comprehensive ambahan vocabulary that we have at the moment. Hindi ko lang alam kung may ginawa si Luward o ginagawa sila doon ngayon, na bagong dictionary na ganito. But yun nga, it's still the most comprehensive one. Ito yung ginawa kong basis. Ngayon, maraming posibilidad. Yung dictionary na nasa loob nasa program, it can be modified any way you want. Halimbawa, kaya nga gusto ko makakuha ng mga ambahan from the wild, ng mga hindi pa notated ng mga ambahan, because sinasabi sa inyo ng program, I can't read this because I don't know words in it. So maganda ron, because once you input mga ganyang klaseng ambahan, it will tell you, oh, I'm confused, sabihin niya. So why is it confused? Because this word doesn't exist in that dictionary. So we have now an opportunity to add that word. So we're sticking muna with the traditional ambahan. Kung may modernization na, kaya may bagong mga lexical elements na pumapasok dito in the contemporary period, o iba pang opinion. Even during Postma's time, nariyan na yung mga Spanish-derived words, English words, Americano, nandyan, Pero today, there might be even more, So it's not a dead form, It's not even a dead writing system. Pero ako personally, I'm more interested in, basically, why am I doing this? It's the philosophy of how they live, of the thinking, that's behind that. It's beyond the technical things. My interest is philosophy of how they live, as through time, we can see, that makita mo nga sa mga ambahan, wala nang dagat masyado sa ambahan because nung pagdating ng mga lowlanders, pagdating ng mga mananakop, they were forced up the mountains. So ambahan doesn't contain halos anything about the ocean, They think that's quite sad, because they used to live near the ocean. Pero when people came in to invade their area, biglang wala na sa ambahan ang dagat, So that's one thing that you can see, historical memory, which means na yung 500 years of Spanish colonialism also changed the ambahan, Sorry, the 500 years na sineselebrate ngayon, yun yung para makita mo doon sa transition na yun, the loss of the sea, in the consciousness of the Mangyan.
I was just thinking, Bowman, in the ambahan that you've already read, may accounts ba ng raids, ang slave raiding, so-called moral raids? because that's another reason. We excavated sites, Bangkoro,
Tama.
and in Bungabong, and we found artifacts that we associate with the Mangyans, so like a nice spindle whorl and all that. But then, of course, in the memory of the people living now in the coast, in the lowlands, they never realized that the Mangyans used to live there. And then even the Mangyans, they never see themselves as people who were also living in the lowlands. Pero maganda, siguro lalabas sa mga ambahan yun, yung mga events, no? And that will give the time depth also to the ambahan. So if it's a Moro raid, then that would be 18th century or early 19th century, ganyan ang time depth yan.
Yeah, future project, Vic. Future project. Magaling. If you connect that with your research.
May isang katanungan dito. Wala kay AS Mina. Ilang percentage po kayo nakakasigurado about sa meaning ng mga words sa ambahan? May mga ginagamit po ba kayong ibang techniques bukod doon sa Jupyter program? Pero siguro ito na yun. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're just slavishly dependent on Postma's on Postma's definitions, ano.
Yeah.
Ayun nga eh. Pero even Postma says, sabi niya, mag-ingat kayo sa pag-interpret ng mga salitang ito because they might mean, because it's poetry, something totally different from what it literally says, ano. A Mangyan reader would know yung what it is referring to, no? Where you might tend to literalize those things, ano. So be careful about interpreting it. So this is the second layer of reading, ano. So yun lang. Sa usapin na ito, we can't really, the information that we have is all the information that we have at present. No, and beyond that, wala pa tayong alam. Yan.
Yes.
We can improve it, of course.
May dadagdag pa sana ako pero nagre-raise ng hand si Dr. Jack Medrana.
Okay. Gandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Yes, napakaganda nung presentasyon mo, Professor Bomen.
Salamat.
Yung napansin ko kasi yung issue natin dito yung nagpapahirap yung structure ng writing system natin, ano, kasi yung mga iba halimbawa sa yung banda na dun sa Indian Ocean, ano yun yung tawag mo dun, yung vowel killer ba, yung nilalagyan ng marka yung ilalim ng isang consonant, no, para hindi na siya tumuloy, ganun ba yan? Yun yung vowel killer, ano? Oo. Ang tanong ko ay, yung mga nasa Sulawesi ba o pareho din ng ating mga writing system na walang ganon? At saan yung break nung ano na yon, no? yung pattern na yon? Ibig sabihin doon sa Indochina ba, yung mga scripts doon, meron pa bang, may mga ginagamit ba silang ganon na vowel killer? Tapos meron pa yung conjoined consonants kasi, no? So, conjoined consonants, halimbawa yung N at D. Halimbawa, no? So, isusulat nila yon sa isang symbol lang, sa Sanskrit halimbawa. Pero dito sa atin kasi, sa writing systems natin, walang ganon. Kaya ang hirap mag-break nung syllables at hindi mo malaman kung ano yung consonant o yung tunog ng consonant na ilalagay mo dun sa vowel na kasunod. So may ganun na kahirapan. So mas maayos yung nandun sa halimbawa yung sa India, no, yung or siguro dun sa ibang parts ng Southeast Asia kaysa dito. Saan yung break nung ganun na writing system?
Okay, so yun nga yung ating tanong. Kasi matagal nang pinagdedebatehan. Ano ba yung mas malapit na, kung sa ating mga kapitbahay lang, ano, o karatig bayan, ano yung pinakamalapit na mga writing system sa ating Indian-derived writing system, ano? Systems, ano?
Okay.
So merong debate halimbawa, ito ba ay, kasi may mga buhay pa rin talaga, ano, sa Sumatra, Sulawesi, even Java. Sa at least our immediate neighbor, ano, Indonesia, no? So halimbawa sa Sumatra, mga Batak, no, may mga very very active in using the writing system, ano. Tapos sa Sulawesi, you have the Bugis, Makassar manuscripts, and also people, who use their script, their own their writing system. So ngayon, ang isang debate is, Sumatra ba o Sulawesi, given that they are the nearest neighbors. Well, so ang makita mo sa Sumatra, they have vowel killers and they don't have a danda.
Okay.
They don't have that danda. So kasi yung makita niyo naman, yun yung argument namin sa libro namin. Kung wala kang vowel killers tapos wala kang danda, imposibleng basahin na yung text. Pero kung meron kang danda tapos wala kang vowel killers, it makes it possible. Pwede. That's the only reason why it's possible to read text without vowel killers, because they have these danda. They manage the complexity. It's a complexity reduction device. Kaya nga pinakita ko kanina sa yung computer, di ba, how long it takes to process longer segments, di ba? Kung 21 segments, ang tagal na nagpo-process ng computer. It's the same with human cognitive abilities. It will take long for you to process very long non-danda type baybayin texts. Ngayon so sabi ng kaibigan kung si Uli Kozok, specialist in Batak, we have none of that. They have none of that. They have a vowel killer and they have no similar punctuation. He's never seen it. Pero sa Bugis writing systems, si McKnight, who is also a very good, very specialist here, si Miller din yata, Miller din. Yun, in Bugis writing systems, you don't have any vowel killer. It's exactly the same problem. Kaya nga sabi ni Miller, ang hirap-hirap nito. Pero pagka binabasa naman ng mga Bugis, parang si McKnight sabi niya, parang ang bilis nila magbasa. Pero walang vowel killer. But they have the danda. And in fact, yung Bugis writing system, ang ikli ng danda nila. Yung average, yung kanilang mga danda is 5
syllables.
5 syllables. Madalas, sa kanilang mga text, 5 syllables. Very short. Ibig sabihin, very easy to process mentally. Yung sa atin, mas mahaba nga 7. At least yung ambahan. Pero yung sa baybayin is variable length. Danda system. The most advanced siguro is yung Doctrina Christiana with its variable length danda system. So this is an integrated system, which allows it to work as a writing system. And this is found at least as far as I know sa axis ng Philippines Sulawesi. So kung i-implement ang program na ito sa mga Bugis, the longest written epic in the world, is Bugis, Ila Galigo. It's the longest written epic in the world, and it's in this type of writing system. Now, if I'm able to input yung vocabulary ng Ila Galigo into this machine, it can actually spit out yung interpretations of lines from that epic.
Pero yung champa ay ibang ibang klase.
Yeah, iba pa
Mas
yun.
maayos ang champa writing system.
Yeah, I would think that it's
Indonesian.
So yun lang naman. Sorry.
Na-compare na ba ito or may way ba para i-combine kasama yung mga Palawan scripts? May mga taga-Palawan pala dito na nag-aaral rin ng scripts na umattend rin dahil interesado yata silang malaman ko paano yung method. So may attempts po ba to put them together or at least yung grammar, yung structure para makakuha ng iba pang interpretations? Or
kung Palawan, kailangan meron tayong dictionary. So I could give this program kung merong guy na nasa Palawan na interested in that for Palawan writing systems for their writing. Nako, just put in the dictionary into this machine and it works. This is completely free. Software. This is open source freeware. I'll give it to anyone who needs it. Except at this point yung dictionary kasi naka-copyright pa yan itong Mangyan so we can't really nagagalit si Luward pagka kasama yung dictionary ng mga Mangyan.
Oh man, I'm a bit slightly confused lang, di ba sinabi mo nga, yung maganda o yung challenge sa ambahan ay napaka-komplikado, no? And ang daming nangyayari. And of course, hindi na masyadong alam ng maraming mangyan, no? And therefore, an algorithm like this and a program like this will really be very helpful, even within the culture and of course the people are studying. But in the case of Bugis, aren't there still a lot of Bugis readers? And so there won't be really any problem or challenge in the translation of their epics, right? Or their poetry, no?
Right.
Parang di ba, so tama ako, no? Your approach is really for those problematic languages and scripts, no? But for the others, it will be redundant, right? I mean, there are many.
Sabi ni McKnight mismo, nagpadala siya sa akin ng image ng Bugis writing, Sabi niya, he's trying to transcribe from some artifact, an inscription, And sabi niya, sobra problematic nitong inscription na to because it doesn't use danda. Sabi niya, this is so frustrating, sabi niya, because it's such a long inscription without any danda. Parang problematic talaga. But this program accepts any length, any inscriptions of any length, It will just take longer to process, a bit longer to process. Pwedeng kumain muna kayo, magmerienda, ganyan, It will help people like McKnight out to try to make sense of this. Let's say an old artifact that in a museum and maybe outsider tayo. Maybe there's someone out there, mga Bugis, who can actually read it right off the bat. Pero siguro kung si McKnight, subukan una. So ganun yun.
Kasi kung yung script, let's say, kahit 19th century lang yung script, it will be different. Iba na doon sa mga marunong magbugis ngayon, di ba? Tama rin, tama. Correct. Yeah.
Ang reverse engineer, ang iniisip ko parang reverse engineer yung process. So, from the known towards the unknown na pwede. At saka kung saan siya ma-apply sa iba pang languages. And since may compilation na ng mga different dictionaries na pwede nang isaksak doon sa program, from different languages, then you can maybe play around, and in the land of mabilis na computers na pwede na mag-run, siguro pwede nang magamit, ma-pull out yung mga different words from different dictionaries. As long as parang may script ka na dito muna, number 1, number 2, number 3, dictionary muna yung ipaparun mo. Parang yun yung iniisip ko na kasi may katanungan din dito. Napaisip ako dahil may tanong dito na sa multiple lines ng pag-run, kung mag-i-interpret, pwede ba na, posible ba na mag-combine ng mga different interpretations like line 1 and then sa susunod na line ay yung susunod na interpretation, parang mga jumbo. Ano ba yung ilan ang kaya ba na makalabas ng iba't ibang interpretations without using the different doon sa different lines and different interpretations based doon sa dictionary. Programmer siya nagtatanong.
Ang problema ay permutational yan, you have to go through all the possible combinations of possible readings, So let's say one line spits out 4, one line spits out 3, one line spits out 2, one line spits out 1. So of course it's relatively easy to bring out all the possible permutations of that. Para ito na lumalabas, ito na yung pinaka-okay. So I just print it out and parang this makes sense, ganyan. So this doesn't make sense. So it's possible. Pero yun nga, it's more fun tingin ko to do it yourself, rather than to go through all this. Anyway, for me, it's more fun to, discover it, by reading it yourself.
Ano ba papasok yung ang isa sa mga pinaproblematize mga recently na nabanggit mo ay yung actual extract ng romanization, tama ba ako, ng syllables based doon sa script ng Mangyan. So, may way ba? Hindi ko to alam sa mga programmers, may way ba para gamitin yung isang standardized Mangyan font? Parang
Ayan.
para extract siya.
Well, ganito yan. Meron tayong, kung pagsusulat lang ng Mangyan script, si Peter Morrow, he has a good, kalimutan ko nga lang kung paano gamitin kanina. So, he has a good Mangyan, that's a good service na ginawa niya. Pero, kumbaga, if you have let's say something written in Mangyan script, tapos i-scan mo, tapos i-OCR, it automatically produces yung transcription, ano?
Yes.
That's possible. At basically, parang ganun yung project namin ni Luward ngayon, no? To try to, we're scanning all of these variants ng mga Mangyan characters, ano? And then, we'll try to develop character recognition, kumbaga machine learning system to recognize Mangyan characters, ano? And then try to arrive at a, let's say, the most average kind of writing, ano, of that Mangyan character. So it's possible. Pwedeng i-piggyback dito is an actual, yung, di ba, yung OCR, yung character text yan, pa-convert into searchable text, ano, yung image. It's not been done for ambahan, for Mangyan, Surat Mangyan. It's been done for baybayin, ano. But it's not, but I think same principle. So I think that's what we're working on kami ni Luward, trying to use machine learning to arrive at average characters.
Binanggit rin si Luward dito na may issues rin sa font kasi ayaw ng community sa mga fonts. So it makes sense rin. So magandang point rin yan. Siguro may, dahil beyond pala tayo sa 2:30, may isang tanong dito, siguro pwede na natin to i-last. Galing kay Bell. Salamat po, Sir Ramon, sa pagbabahagi ninyo. Follow-up question po, may collaboration po ba with the Mangyans? Gaya po sa dictionary or translation other than that done by scholars, and to what extent po sa proyekto na ito? So siguro kung kayong dalawa ni Duward maaring magbigay ng information rin.
Ayan, siyempre si Luward yun nasa community. At yung trabaho na yan ay talagang community-based, ano, na kumikilala ng lahat ng kagalingan, no, at karapatan ng mga Mangyan sa kanilang kultura, ano. At itong ginawa ko lang, nakabase lang yan sa previous fieldwork, ano, very intensive ni Postma, no. Kumbaga, it's already a result, no, of his communication, his living with, ano, and among, ano, the Mangyan, also becoming one with them, ano. So ito ay nangailangan ng napakatindi na pakikiisa, no, sa komunidad ng mga Mangyan para magawa ang kanyang klaseng diksyonaryo. Ito yung produkto na naibibigay pa ni Postma sa atin, ano. At ngayon, para ito ay mapalalim pa, mapalawak pa, maging mas kompleto, ano, ay nangangailangan talaga ng dagdag na fieldwork, ano, at community interaction, ano. Kaya lang ang hirap nga lang gawin ngayon, ano. Yun yung problema. Sana kapag nagluwag-luwag na ang sitwasyon ay yung mga taong katulad ni Vic ay makapag-fieldwork ulit, no. at makapag-fieldwork na rin, ano, sa mga interested sa ganitong mga bagay, ano. Yes, so si Luward, I think, is in a better position to share something about the status of community-based research among the Mangyan. Luward, may masabi ka?
Teka lang, anong sasabihin ko? Siguro general statement lang po na karamihan, yung mga proyekto po ng Mangyan Heritage Center ay katuwang po lagi ang mga people's organization ng Hanunoo at Buhid. So halimbawa po yung recent na pagdodokumento ng Surat Buhid at Surat Hanunoo Mangyan at yung pagbuo po ng mga materyales panturo ay katuwang po yung mga pamayanan, yung mga elders. In fact po, yun po yung isa sa pinakamalawak na proyekto kasi saklaw niya halos lahat po ng sitio, barangay at mga bayan na meron pong Mangyan community. So katuwang po namin halos 400 plus na mga gurangon. Siguro yun lang po. Salamat.
Thanks, Lord. Okay. May siguro ang katanungan na last or kung may mga katanungan pa maaari niyo pang ihabol, pero siguro pwede na rin natin 'to i-last na ano na ang status sa pag-publish. Ang issue ay ang problema ngayon ay or ang hinaharap ay may issue sa copyright, no? Is it regarding sa mga previous interpretations ni Postma?
Dictionary. The dictionary is still
The
under.
dictionary. Okay.
And also not copyright. Kailangan ng community, permission ng
Okay.
community to
Of
even
course.
publish
Yeah.
this dictionary. That's why, as much as I would like, kasi gusto ko yun naman, mas maraming interesado sa ambahan, mas maraming
Yes.
nag-experiment dito,
Mm-mm.
Yun nga lang, meron tayong ganyan technical issues, It's also ethical, an ethical matter, So, if we are able to overcome it in the future, then this can be a tool, open tool for anyone who wants to go into ambahan.
Pero yung program na yung core ng program na ito, yung pag-run, na-publish na ba ito or
Ito.
mm.
It's open source, it's free, I can give it to anyone who wants. It's a very sloppily written program actually. Magulo. Isip ko ng konti. Kasi siya, it's ang tawag diyan kludge, It works but it's not very beautiful. So, isip ko ng konti para lang, but anyone can use it. You can use Jupyter or any other interface to run it, And it will give out the same result. So you can use it for Palawan, for Baybayin, actually I have a Baybayin version, based on Doktrina Kristiyana. Yun, pwede kong ibigay yun. Walang problema kasi yung Doktrina Kristiyana, hindi na under copyright yun. 1593 pa yun eh. Yeah, hindi na yun under copyright.
Saka sana yung mga ibang mga diksyonaryo na mga lumang diksyonaryo, maaari rin na ma-OCR yun, tapos pwede nang paglaruan ng mga ibang tao dahil open source, na sila freely available na rin sila eh.
True, ang isang project, dami talaga eh. Digitization of all, digitization and OCRing of optical character recognition of all historical dictionaries in the Philippines. This is a big project that that we want to implement sa aming digital humanities group, So ito siguro yung next. We've already digitized a lot of library materials, yung rare periodicals, ngayon i-release namin sa November yung aming repository, digital repository. But I think this project ng digitization and OCR ng all historical dictionaries of the Philippines in all languages, this is going to be a fantastic project, Sabihin searchable na. Ibig sabihin, pwede na may interface that can allow you to search across dictionaries and compare everything that's in those dictionaries. Sayang, if we should do that, That's a project. That's a future project we're planning, pa rin, Makakatulong ito sa lahat ng disiplina. It's so important.
Ang pinaka-last ang lagi ko lang binabalikan ay yung vocabulario de lengua Tagala, yung San Buenaventura. At searchable na siya, pero nasira rin yata ang search engine nila ngayon, kaya sayang, magandang dapat may magpatuloy. At saka Tagalog siya, so mas maganda, marami pang mga dictionaries na pwede pang mapag-aralan. Ang galing na nito. I-expect namin siguro mga pag November may announcement, so i-repost na lang namin.
Hindi pa yun, hindi pa yung dictionaries.
Okay.
Yung rare materials ng main library.
Okay.
Mga that we've scanned and digitized. Yeah. So that's the repository. But yung dictionary itself, yeah, that's still coming up, Yeah.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Okay. Ang galing, ito nakakatuwa at saka marami pang pwedeng pag-aralan. And siguro may mga ibang mga estudyante dito na hindi nasa archaeology o mga interesado, pwede kayong i-email bukas si Sir Bomen makipag-usap sa inyo at maaari nyo rin siyang tanungin tungkol dun sa program kung gusto niyo i-run ito. Alam ko may mga taga Palawan. Salamat sa pumunta na nag-aaral ng Nagbanwa scripts dito. At meron ring ilang mga interesado sa pag-aaral ukol sa scripts ng Mangyan. Maaari niyo yung kausapin si Sir Bomen at saka si Luward dito. Makakausap nyo at matatanong nyo sila tungkol sa Mangyan Center. Okay? Mangyan Heritage Center. Alright? Maraming salamat kay Sir Bomen sa napakasayang kwentuhan at saka sa ang dami namin natutunan. I'm sure marami pang mga tanong yung mga tao at i-email ka rin po nila. Meron pa next week ang ating maririnig ay babalik tayo sa huling BINALOT talk ng naihahandog ng Nayong Pilipino ukol naman sa kanilang program, ikatlong at huling programa na tungkol sa Research Institute nila. At ano ang plano nila mula doon. Hopefully by Friday ay malabas na namin ang poster para dito. At i-follow nyo lang ang Facebook ng BINALOT Talks para sa oras at saka sa title ng susunod na talk. Pero sa ngayon, kami po ay magpapasalamat kay Sir Bomen. Maraming salamat. At kakausapin ko po namin kung ano po yung mga impormasyon na maaari naming i-upload para sa YouTube tungkol dito. Kasi kung may mga impormasyon na hindi po muna maaaring ilagay, ayos lang po, pwede naman namin i-blur kung okay lang sa inyo. Okay? Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Stay safe, ingat, and see you all next week. Thank you.